Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your daily source for Black news, views, and opinions. Happy Hump Day. Today is August 10th, and I'm Mimi Brown.
And I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo. And on today's report, a Mississippi grand jury will not hand down an indictment against the woman who was to blame for the lynching of Emmett Till. We'll have the details at the top of the show. Meanwhile, civil rights groups are calling for the USDA to supply an alternative to cow's milk for students who are lactose intolerant. Then a Black Missouri family says they were turned away from a water park after they paid thousands of dollars to host a birthday party for their twin sons. We'll have the latest.
Plus, Serena Williams says don't call it retirement. The woman considered the greatest female athlete of all time is getting ready to move on from tennis, and the Breakfast Club is calling it quits. We'll have the details. We have all of that and so much more right here. It's Our Voice, Not Truth, so let's get it.
Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us. We start today with news about the woman responsible for the death of Emmett Till. We're learning today that a Mississippi grand jury is declining to indict the woman whose accusations sparked Emmett Till's untimely death. Now, 7 hours of testimony from investigators and witnesses in LaFleur County, Mississippi last week failed to convince a jury to indict Carolyn Bryant Dunham on charges of kidnapping and manslaughter. The decision comes after recent revelations about an unserved arrest warrant against Dunham that dates back to 1955. Now, the Daily Mail newspaper, they claim Dunham, who is 87 years old, is living in a Kentucky hospice, dying of cancer. And as you already know this story, Till was 14 years old at the time when he was visiting Mississippi when he was accused of whistling at her. Her then husband, Roy Dunham, and brother-in-law, J.W. Millam, they were acquitted by an all-white jury back in 1955. So this new information makes it highly unlikely that in our lifetimes or in her lifetime or ever that we will see her prosecuted or anyone prosecuted for Emmett Till's death. When we think about it, it's been almost 70 years and no one has been criminally charged for his murder. His cousin, the last living witness to his abduction, he testified in court. He put out a statement and it said, "The prosecutor tried his best. We appreciate his efforts, but he alone cannot undo hundreds of years of anti-black systems that would guarantee those who killed Emmett Till would go unpunished unto this day." And so the family, they say they're not giving up. They don't know what their next steps are. They say that they still want justice. And when asked what that justice would look like, they said that they just would have wanted her to come and testify or come there and just to defend herself, just to hear from her.
I think the most disheartening part about all of this is that there was a whole anti-lynching bill that was in the name of Emmett Till, and then when it comes to bringing actual justice, the Justice Department could not do that. Also, in that same statement that you say from his cousin, he also said that the state of Missouri assured him and his family that they would leave no stone unturned in the fight for his cousin. And, I like that he said that the prosecutors did what they could, but honestly, did they? Because what did we really get accomplished here? It's really disheartening just going back to the fact that this lady has been in hiding, and I remember when we first brought this story up and I had conflicting views about leave her alone, blah, 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 or whatever. But now, after doing a little bit of research, I also can understand, too, that my statements could have been hurtful, even to my community, because it's like, hey, you've been in hiding. The least you could have done was come forward and testify, the very least, right? And let us see your face and let us hear the empathy in your voice for what you did to years
I think that would have helped.
Absolutely.
Definitely would have helped.
Yeah.
I agree. You think about the situation, it's a part of history that we don't really like talking about, and then we have to ask ourselves, how far have we really come since this? Because we know incidents have happened over the last couple of decades similar to this. So it's so unfortunate for the family, and I would have loved to hear, like, if it's true what she said, that this really didn't happen, right? If that's how it really went down and that's the truth, I would love for her to come to court and say that, maybe apologize. It can't bring him back, but it can bring some type of closure, because people are still going to go on with their lives knowing that this little boy was killed for no reason, and she has a chance to try and make some of that right. And for her not to be willing to do that, and for them not to bring her to court, It's just another L to the family that they didn't have to take.
Yeah, I mean, we know that. So the two men, her husband and her brother-in-law, they admitted to doing this in 1956. They did a whole interview where they admitted that they, in fact, killed Emmett Till.
Right.
They later died in their 80s. So we're talking even still from 1956 to the 1980s, no one did anything, even after they admitted it. And so here we are, we found an old arrest warrant for this lady. And even now in 2022, we still can't do anything. It is very unsad. And Demi, you brought up the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act. You know, his legacy, I guess, will live on in that bill, but how long did it take for that to get passed? We had to fight and fight and fight to make it illegal to lynch someone in the United States, you know? And so it's like we come so far, but have we? When we really, 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 we have to beg and plead, and we have to have a law on the books that says you cannot lynch people.
Very sad. Two opinion polls are giving conflicting views on Donald Trump's culpability in the January 6 attacks on the U.S. Capitol. The new university poll that we are letting you know about here, it says that the White House hearings on the attacks show they have done little to sway public opinion. 38% of those polled say Trump was directly responsible for the insurrection. That's slightly down from a poll taken in June before the hearings began, when 42% of people said the former president was responsible for the riot. But another poll taken 9 days ago by Harvard University and the Harris Polling Company says more than half of the U.S. voters say Trump should face criminal charges for his role in the January 6 attack.
You know, that story is very interesting. I feel like, am I surprised that public perception has not changed? Not really, because if we look at what's happening right now with Mar-a-Lago, I watched a special report yesterday where a lot of people are saying he's being the victim, he's being targeted, and he is playing to that victim base. I mean, when we think about DeSantis put out a statement, Mike Pence put out a statement, these are his potential political rivals for the nominee, for the Republican nominee. Both of them put out a statement. And so what's happening right now is people are feeling empathy for him. They're feeling, think about his base, right? So if you're his base and you feel like the government is overtaking you, marginalizing you, your social and economic living situation has gone down, and here goes Trump. See, they're doing the same thing to me. I am a victim as well. And so that's what's happening right now, even with the Mar-a-Lago situation. So am I surprised that the January 6th committee is not getting anywhere? The people who probably already believed he was guilty are still going to believe he was guilty, and the people who did not believe he was guilty, they're still not going to believe he's guilty. I don't know what has to happen here for anything to change.
Yeah, I think if you did a percentage thing when it initially happened, even to now, it's not going to be that much different. Like you said, people are going to feel the same way. Although those people feel that way about the way Trump is being treated and the charges they're trying to bring up against Trump, they're defending him. Would they defend someone that been on the Democratic side? Would they still be saying the same thing? Absolutely not. So we know what it is. These are Trump supporters. They're going to ride with him no matter what they're looking at, even if they see the truth. They've seen all those people go inside the Capitol on January the 6th. They know what happened to the day. They know what happened to those officers, how officers, some committed suicide days after because of what happened that day. They've seen all that, and yet they still want to say, no, why are you trying to accuse Donald Trump? Makes no sense at all.
Yeah, people were screaming, I love you, like as he was going into Trump Towers yesterday after his Mar-a-Lago estate was raided. So it's like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What do you do?
All right, well, the IRS is being ordered to hand over former President Trump's tax returns to a House committee. The decision comes after a long-running legal challenge to stop tax officials from giving his records to the House Ways and Means Committee. Federal tax law requires the Treasury Department to hand over tax refunds after receiving a request from the Ways and Means Committee. But Trump's lawyers objecting, saying the law is unconstitutional and would pose First Amendment and separation of powers concerns. The committee requests to see Trump's tax returns are part of its oversight of the IRS's presidential audit program.
And a coalition of civil rights leaders are accusing the U.S. Department of Agriculture of dietary racism by not giving black children a choice of alternative to cow's milk. A letter from the group says the USDA incentivizes schools to buy cow's milk, which is unjust to African American kids, many of which are lactose intolerant. The National School Lunch Program covers 30 million school kids around the nation. It's a program the civil rights groups say historically ignored the needs of black and white and non-white students.
Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes will face Senator Ron Johnson this fall. Both men won their primary yesterday. Johnson, who is a Republican seeking his third term in office, and Barnes both breezed to easy wins. Johnson has been in denial of COVID-19 and has high unfavorable numbers. A recent poll says 46% of those polled have negative feelings about the senator. His favorability rating is lower at 37%. If elected, Barnes, who is only 35, will become the youngest member of the U.S. Senate and the state's first African-American senator.
A black Missouri family says they were turned away from a water park. They paid over $2,000 to host a birthday party for their twin sons. The Evans family says when they arrived at the Lee Summit Waves water park last Saturday, managers of the pool refused to let them inside the park. The park official says they were uncomfortable having the Evans at the park, even though it had already been paid for in advance. The Evans family says park officials discriminated against them because the large group of teens were black. The park, which is run by Lee Summit, Missouri, says it is conducting an investigation into the incident. You know, I think about the times that we're in with inflation, gas prices, trying to get through the pandemic. You know, a lot of families are not able to do this. They put up $2,000. This is a special day, a birthday. You can't get this back, and yet they go and they encounter this. But this is nothing new. I mean, if you just go on your computer and you just Google, you see things that have been happening from 2021 to 2020. All the way in Baltimore, a restaurant apologized after denying service. This is something that happens over and over again to people of color. We're in 2022, and when you work there, it's about the customer being right. Where's the customer service at? These people paid that. There's no disclaimer saying that if it's over 10 black people, you can't come into a park. I mean, this is very frustrating because it happens over and over again, and I think about the times that we're in, and it doesn't make sense to me at all. It really doesn't.
You know, I really think what happened here, Romeo, because the people said that they signed a contract initially already, so they already signed a contract, locked that in, and so 250 people is a lot of people. One, and so what I think happened, they said that they were on their way and they found out. What I feel like happened, somebody probably said, hey, it's going to be 250 black people here, and somebody got like nervous because that, I mean, it's honestly, it's a lot of people in general, but I feel like someone got nervous. 250 black people just felt like we don't have the security, and there was some strange reason. Because, I mean, we've been to a water park before. We went to Hurricane Harbor just about a couple of weeks ago, and it was a nice amount of us, but we were definitely outnumbered when it came to the amount of black people that were there.
What I didn't like is that they used the word uncomfortable. What does that mean? You feel uncomfortable to host these teens and their birthday. How old were they turning, by the way?
17, I believe. 17. Yep, 17-year-olds.
17, because they said that they saved up the money, $2,000. They saved it up because they really want to have their birthday party here. And so we have to remember that these are still kids. So take away the black and the white, they're still kids. And so when as a kid, when you set your minds to something and that's what you want to do for your birthday, that's what you want to do for your birthday. And to be met with, you and your friends can't come in because we feel uncomfortable. And I don't know if we showed the picture or soulmates if you've seen the picture, but there's a lady at the front and then there's a family in the back, and so it just looks as if this white lady is saying to this family, you can't come in because I'm uncomfortable. Now I don't know if this particular lady is the one who said she felt uncomfortable, but that's the optics. That's what it looks like. And when you use the word uncomfortable, you're saying, I'm scared. I'm scared of what you guys may do. I'm scared, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. Would it have been different if two white teens who were turning 17 came with their ninth and, or what, when you're 17, how old are you? 11th grade, 12th grade class, would it have been the same?
Probably not. It probably wouldn't have been the same at all.
No, another word for uncomfortable right now in this situation is probably racist. I mean, that's how I'm a substitute. That's one word for another. And again, to have to encounter this, what does that say about those young kids as they go into this world, as they go off to college, as they grow up? This is something that they're facing. This is going to stay in their mind forever. This is a special day. So you turn away not only them and their family, but their friends. So what is that conversation like afterwards? How do you heal from that? Because, yeah, you got turned away from a water park. You didn't get hurt. You didn't get injured. But that's something you're going to carry on your shoulders for maybe the rest of your life.
And two, what if the people would have just came, 250 people just would have bought tickets? Because you can't stop me if we just go and buy a ticket. Because, I'm thinking about when we went to our water water park recently. We didn't have like an area, but we all bought tickets. You couldn't stop us if we would have just bought the tickets outright online. So it's kind of like they should just let the party just happen.
So no shade to Nick Cannon. So Nick Cannon can buy a park out for his kids, and it's fine because it's a small amount of number. But don't let it be 250 black people. Then we get uncomfortable.
I don't think we're going to hear, I don't think this is the end of this.
No.
The optics look too bad. So, and so I believe the father and the mother, they said that the mother said that the boys teared up from embarrassment. So I definitely think that they're not going to let this go. And so I think that we'll be hearing more from this, about this. All right, so here's an update to a story we told you about last month. A Florida man who confronted a father and daughter with an assault rifle as they were landscaping in his neighborhood has been arrested.
You think I'm playing? Yeah. Your daughter better take record of how stupid her father is.
Yeah, all right.
Keep recording.
All right.
If it goes online, your ass will be sued too.
All right, soulmates, remember that we told you about that story last month. This happened in Clearwater, Florida. Police there, they arrested David Berry and charged him with aggravated assault. Police say his weapons have been seized by the county sheriff's office. Now, Berry got into an argument with Jeremy Lee and his daughter Carrie back in July when their vehicle was blocking his driveway. Lee's daughter began to record the argument, and that's when Berry threatened him. Now, Berry has had other run-ins with the law. He's been charged with battery, burglary, and petty theft. I'm glad that he's arrested. I just wonder basically what took them so long, because apparently he was arrested on August 5th. And we reported this story back, in the beginning of July. And so the state's attorney there said after weeks of reviewing the discovery from the investigation, they decided to arrest him. So they called him and they said, hey, we're going to come over, sir, and we're going to arrest you for this. So they gave him kind of like a heads up. Just pointing that out because we don't get that type of service.
That courtesy call, right?
We never get that. But even still, we always point this out, without that video, this probably never would have happened either way. And so when injustices are done to black people, Hispanic people, people of color, we always have to have a video in order to even get this far, in order for these charges to even come about. So no word yet on if he's still in jail. We know he was arrested and he is now facing these charges.
A lot of times why we see delays in situations like this is because the police officers and these white people are in cahoots with each other, and they have deals that they make with each other, and they are able to use their white privilege cards, invisible white privilege cards in certain situations. And I don't know that if that happened with this particular, but what I will say is the threat, I feel like I said this when this video came out, that this would have scared me enough, I might not have posted that video. Like, I literally would have probably sent it to someone else to post it anonymously. Like, that threat looked like he was serious. Like, he was scary, So I commend the black people, the black family who posted that video and were brave enough, because now getting justice for them after what was done to them, it all worked out, but I just would have been too scared to post it.
Yeah, it's how we got justice for George Floyd. Let's just put it out there, right? Let's just say what it is. And now you have times where police officers are trying to snatch phones out of people's hands when they're filming things like this. So it's almost damn if you do, damn if you don't. That situation could have ended totally different. We know that. This guy seemed like he had a chip on his shoulder. Maybe he was having a bad day. I don't know. It was very disrespectful. I know a street is a public street. If he was in part of the driveway, if they're moving it right away, it should have been an easy conversation. Thank you. Please don't do it again. But we saw how this escalated, and it could have been worse than this.
Yeah, and I think what you said, Jimmy, that's honest. That's real emotion. When you think about someone who is standing feet away from you with an AR-15 threatening your life, you gonna put the phone down. Right. So it takes a lot of courage for this girl, for this young girl, to keep filming, for us to even see this. So what you're saying, there's no shade or shame in feeling like you would be afraid, because
terrified.
No one can say what they would or would not do if they were in that situation.
Exactly.
That's a great point. That is a great point. A Virginia special prosecutor says he will not criminally charge a former police officer for the 2020 arrest of a black soldier during a traffic stop. This is the police body camera footage of Lieutenant Nazario as he is pulled over and pepper spraying by Windsor police in Virginia. Now, Nazario, he was screaming at the police officers as they were pepper spraying him by Joe Gutierrez, who was fired from the force. While prosecutor Anton Bell says that he will not charge charge the former cop with assault. He will, though, recommend that the ex-cop be investigated for civil rights violations. Windsor police say that they pulled the Army officer over because his car did not have license plates. Now, Nazario says that he was pulled into a gas station because he did not feel safe on the side of the road with those police officers.
A former Raleigh police detective is being indicted for obstruction of justice in connection to his allegedly framing of dozens of young black men on fake drug charges. Omar Abdullah was indicted by a Wake County grand jury last month on felony obstruction of justice charges. The county district attorney says the former cop wrongfully arrested a group of men on a fake heroin trafficking scheme. Abdullah was fired last September. The city of Raleigh recently announced a $2 million settlement with the men who were locked up on the bogus charges. It was part of a federal civil rights lawsuit filed against the city and Abdullah. So we understand everything about this was done wrong. That's why the city had to cut this check. And when are we going to get to the point where we continue to hold people accountable, but yet I know we're trying to pay people for their loss, their time loss and things of that nature, but who's really paying for it? I always go back to that. Is it the police department that's going to pay that $2 million? Probably not. It's probably the tax holders in that city, in that state. So, look, I'm glad they got to the bottom of this, but again, who's really paying for it in the end?
You know, someone on the internet said, why was he broke the law? Like, he broke the law, so why was he just fired? That was a criminal offense, honestly. Like, so it was just interesting how he was just fired, not behind bars. And honestly, this is a practice that police officers have been practicing for a very long time. So this was nothing that was new to me. We've seen this in so many movies and so many TV shows, but to see it happen in real life like this was kind of like, wow, like this could actually happen to you.
Yeah, for sure. All right, soulmates, let's end this block with some good news. A new Los Angeles metro station is being named after the late rapper Nipsey Hussle. The station, which officially opens later this year, is located in the Hyde Park neighborhood where Hussle grew up. It's only blocks from the shopping center he owned and where he was fatally shot in 2019. The new K-Line Metro, it will run through the historic African-American neighborhood of South LA all the way to the Los Angeles International Airport.